Two people were here last week. Mrs. Barnhart brought me these two garlics from Spain. This from Asturias, and this from off an island off the coast of Galicia. They are totally unlike any of the other Spanish garlics I've grown. This one is red tarn, brought to me by my neighbors Mark and Jackie. They were in southern France in a district called Tarn. They didn't know that I had this same garlic, Tarn red, 5 years ago, and it was eaten by the gophers. Now, I want us to go outside and plant these special garlics. So what I'm going to do now, cover this with newspaper, wet it down, punch holes, and plant the tarn. The newspaper keeps the weed seeds from germinating, and we're lucky because in California our newsprint has no lead. It's a soy-based ink. And I got the idea from a friend of mine, a very fine gardener, writer, designer named Robert Corrick. And this I do wet it down so the wind doesn't blow it away while I'm working on it. This is called a dibble, and it's designed specifically for this, what I'm going to do now. This is a combination of bat guano and other elements that are beneficial to root growth. Now what I'm going to do is plant this rare Japanese garlic. It's called Hokkaido Zaitai. The base has to go down, but every so often, and this happened a lot when I had people helping me, they would be planted upside down. Instead of the base down, they'd put the tip down. So the plant would grow down and then have to come up, and the green would come up, but it would, by the time it got above the earth, it was already so weak that it didn't mature. This is where kids who help me screw up and either push down the clove so far or don't cover it at all. I use rice straw as mulch. Keeps the garlic from being hit hard by rain and from being hit hard by the sun. The rice straw is the only one of all the straws that has no weed seeds. So I'll relay this information when I get inside onto my permanent chart. There are two types of garlic, hardneck and softneck. Hardnecks have a stalk that comes up at the center called a scape. When the scape begins to curl, I break it off at the base. Otherwise, it will take energy out of the bulb, meaning the bulb will be smaller and less tasty and will not last as long on the shelf. I used to throw these scapes away, but then one day, when I was in Italy, I saw the farmers bringing in the scapes and making soups and salad with them. They can be eaten raw or cooked, and they are milder than the clove. If I don't break it off, it will form a seed pod and produce sterile seeds. Garlic reproduces itself by the clove. This process is called clonal. The best way to harvest is to use a shovel. You do not want to pull the clove out of the ground. If you pull the stalk, it can separate from the clove. So the best way is to put the shovel down in the ground underneath the bulb and lift, loosening it from the soil. Then when you pull it up, you get the bulb and stalk completely attached, and it will be easier to hang when I dry it. These are just beginning to go brown, but they're also beginning to fall over, which means that the neck is breaking between the bulb and the stalk. And when the neck is broken, the bulb is getting no more energy out of the leaves and stalks, and they have to be dug up.
Not these ones, though.
Well, not big cloves there, so that'll be medium, but this, I think, ooh, there's a possible 4 or 5 large cloves. I'm going to put that with the large.
I think this is large.
Yes, that's large.
Like,
That's medium.
That's medium, I think.
Yeah.
these are all medium.
See how quickly we become authorities?
Sort of
Now we're arranging these bulbs by size, small, medium, and large. Then we'll hang them for 3 weeks. During that time, they'll lose 1/3 of their weight in water, and after that, for the next 3 to 4 months, the taste differences are most intense. Do you remember what variety this was?
The Russian.
There you are.
Oh,
Russian red toe. Mark the tag, Russian red toe, with an L, meaning large, and today is the
6/18.
18th. One.
So.
Then,
So 3 weeks and then they come down?
yes.
And then what? And then they're ready to eat?
Then I cut the tops off, the stalks, and the roots, and then I store them in onion bags in the shed. And
How long do they last for?
about 4 months. And cutting the tops 1 inch or 2 above the bulb. I don't clean the bulbs at all because the more skin covers or wrappers you leave on, the longer they last. Sometimes the clove produces something called a marble. It's just a single large clove. I will save it for next season's planting, and it will produce a large bulb. Once in a while, the seed pod will produce a small bulb. You can plant these tiny cloves, but it will take years for it to get to the size of the larger clove, so I don't bother. I am sorting the garlic by size, small, medium, and large. I will keep the large ones to sell and plant. Medium, I will sell for a cheaper price, and the small I will eat or give away to friends. Mice have been in my shed, so what I now do is I make a duplicate tag and put it inside the bag. Okay. When I'm through harvesting, I have to repair all the broken boxes. Calvin and his friends will be coming up next week to help me empty some of these boxes.
He does. Seriously? Yeah, because he gave us the cheat like a week before.
New public access to your show.
You're always filming you, Carlos.
Dude, you can't. Just give
Jesse's just playing around. He's playing around. He goes like. Calvin, jeez.
You're throwing your whole body. God.
You serious? I couldn't do it. My wrist hurts.
Every year, I have to empty the boxes and check the wire on the bottom to see if there are holes in the wire that the gophers can get through. I have literally watched gophers take the plant from underneath when I've been working out here. The wire will rust and weaken, allowing the gophers to chew and stretch the wire to get through, as you can see here. I use 1/2-inch mesh chicken wire, and it usually lasts 5 to 6 years.
You know, pull your side over that way.
Okay. We want me to cut it.
It's easier if I can let it.
Here, let me try it.
Pull it taut.
I'm sorry, Diego.
It's taut. I don't know.
Constitutional law and...
It's getting harder for me to push the wheelbarrow across the field, so I want to move this box closer to the other boxes that are near the house.
Wow!
Pound of Tuscan red, 1 pound Bogatyar from Russia, and 1 pound Vikak from Czechoslovakia. This is Leningrad garlic from Russia. This one is Makdi from Russia. So there's her 4 garlics. That's all ready.
Chester, the very first thing I want to ask you is what year you were born.
Do I have to say?
Yeah, you have to say. This is obligatory.
Okay, 1923.
So you're the child of an immigrant family.
Child, my father was from Russia, my mother from Poland.
Was this a bookish family or not?
2 of the brothers were very bookish. One brother was in Chicago during the 30s. He used to send me his stories.
Oh.
And I was in grade school and then high school, and I always wanted to be very much like him, Abe.
You wrote about us in your late 20s, your first book?
I worked on that at the Hartford Foundation.
How many books have you done now?
18.
Is that true?
18,
Wow.
counting the nonfiction.
I wanted to ask you, have you always been Jewish?
You know, my father told me several times, he said, Chester, you never have to worry about whether or not you are Jewish, because there's always some goy standing around behind you to tell you that you're a Jew.
Yeah.
And so I think of that often. And I think also, for instance, very often, if I were not a Jew, would I be as often angry and also often as loving as I would be, as I am now? And I think part of my strange temperament is because I'm a Jew, but also because I won't deny it. If I were not a Jew living among Goyim, I would probably not write a lot of the stuff I'm writing. I find myself now writing more, a very specific experience that is very Jewish, and that is the whole Holocaust. It keeps coming back to me in a way that is more intense than it has ever been. And I cannot not think about it anymore. I try every so often to write about other themes, other characters than war, the Holocaust. But that was what shaped my life from the age of 18 on.
Yes, when you were in World War II.
Right.
And saw combat and also saw Dachau.
That's right.
Yeah. More recent books, you feel free to go even more freely to wherever your thoughts lead you, like in the garlic books, right? And you're having a lot of wicked fun, I think,
I do.
in some of that.
I did. Well, the book Garlic Kisses was one where I had a chance to both tell the truth about working in the field, which I love, and also talking about food, and also talking about the very different people that I met in the garlic farming sort of population as compared to the people I met as academics and literary. Totally different world, and I loved it very much. And I find very often that the people whom I met through my garlic experiences are closer to me in many ways and more concerned about what happens to me as I get older and approaching death than my family, who the remainder of my nephews and nieces, and old friends.
I go through 2 to 3 pounds of sugar a week. Sometimes when I'm doing this out here, they'll come right down and hover right next to my ear.
Even though it was isolated, you seemed to be savoring living on a working sheep ranch and knowing the people who lived in a rural community. Is that fair to say?
It's very fair, because the people I met at the ranch and the people I meet here in Occidental are very close to the kind of people I grew up with, coal miners, not at all intellectuals, not at all people interested in literature. They give me a real sense of home that I never got on campus, I never got in the hospital, I never received in Berkeley, this sense of home. I really feel more at home in this area than I have ever felt other than at home.
Your dad grew garlic when you were a kid, is that true?
My dad grew garlic in a little plot outside the house in Pennsylvania, near Pittsburgh. And when I was a child with an earache, he would get garlic and he would put it in my ear, or if I had a toothache, he would make me chew garlic.
Wow.
And he talked about the benefits of garlic every chance he had, and I used to laugh at him. But then, when I was in the Army in World War II, we had penicillin. So Russian soldiers who were wounded, and they would reach in their pockets they'd pull out little cloves of garlic and rub on their wounds. And I would remember my father's stories. One day, there was a pickup truck came onto the ranch, and the rancher was short, stocky, and he had what looked like beets in his hand. And I said, "What is that?" And he looked at me and he said, "Chesnok." Well, in Russian, chesnok means garlic. And I said, "It's garlic, but what is it?" He said, "Chesnok red toch." I said, "It's red. What's the toch mean?" He said, "Toch Liavri, village, Georgia, where garlic grows." I said, "Toch Liavri?" When my father was born. I got the garlic and I started growing that, and that was the first time I moved away from the Gilroy garlic. And then I traded that one day to someone I met somewhere for another garlic. Before long, they led me to someone else. And after another year or so, I had 15, 20 different garlics. And then pretty soon I had 70, 80. Now I have 93.
Wow. It's really been an amazing path. And this all started at age 60 or something?
About 65.
65. Amazing. Yeah. You've gotten how many books out of this?
3 books.
Oh, shame on you.
Yes, right. 2 of them are nonfiction, and one is what might be called memoir. 10 Speed called Garlic is Life book a memoir, just when the term memoir was becoming a very good word in publishing. And by God, it's published about 10 years ago, and it's still out there selling.
I know one of your favorite American authors is Willa Cather. What is it about her or her writing that you care for?
She writes about people whom I would like to write about, farmers, immigrants. And she was a tough lady at a time it was not good to be a tough lady. I like to write about strong women. And I find her courage and her toughness, but her also magnificent femininity to be very, very attractive in characters I try to write about as well as people I like to read and meet. Magazine did a coverage about 4 or 5 years ago. And it looked like the Playboy. There was Chester Aaron was standing there with a camera down here shooting up, and he looked like John Wayne. He asked me when I was out in the field, he said, "Do you make any money on your garlic?" I said, "No." "Well, what happens?" I said, "Well, very often I will get letters and email and phone calls from people who say, I have no money, I see you on television, can I get garlic free?" And I say to them, "You don't have to pay, but you have to give me a recipe." And I said to the editor, every single one of these people has given me a recipe. So he wrote in the article, "Aaron gives garlic free for recipes." In Newsweek magazine.
Oh my God.
And I had hundreds of calls, phone calls, and so forth and so forth. And I complained to him. He said, "You know, forgive me, I'm a professional, I don't make mistakes like that. My only consolation is when that photograph is seen, you're going to have 50 women hitting you for your bob." I had one letter, and it came from New Hampshire, and it said, "Mr. Aaron, you're handsomer than the Marlboro Man. I'm coming out there to meet you."
Oh!
And it was signed David.